G'day, Troy Dean here from WP Elevation, and welcome to episode 79 of the WP Elevation podcast. Our feature guest this week is none other than Adam Mills from Bottomless Design out of Massachusetts in the US of A. You'll have to watch and listen to this interview to find out why his business is called Bottomless Design, why he loves working from home so much, and how he bootstrapped his business without going broke. If you've ever wondered about how to differentiate yourself from the pack and bring your own personality into your business and your own philosophies, and how liberating and freeing it is to say no to clients, then this episode is a must-watch. Adam's got a successful client services business and a theme company. In fact, he's giving away a copy of his Birch theme valued at $49, which is his most popular WordPress theme. Stay tuned for details on how you can enter that competition a little bit later on. Stay with us. Let's elevate.
This is the WP Elevation Podcast, helping WordPress consultants elevate.
This episode of the WP Elevation Podcast is brought to you by Video User Manuals, the best, the only, the original way to teach your clients how to use WordPress. For those of you that don't know, we started this plugin way back in 2008, where we decided to make some video tutorials to automate the process of teaching our clients how to use WordPress. My business partner Brian very cleverly made it into a plugin. I made the videos and we put it up online, and it's been going strong ever since. Right now, it puts over 85 video tutorials in your client's WordPress dashboard to teach them how to use WordPress, how to use SEO by Yoast, WooCommerce, and Google Analytics. Of course, you can switch off any video or whole sections of videos if they're not relevant. You can add your own videos. You can put your own logo on it. You can use our embed codes to embed the videos in your own membership site. You can take all the kudos for it, and it's $24 a month to install on all of your clients' websites, which is just stupid. And we give it to you for $1 for your first month to try it out. So get on over to videousermanuals.com and try it out, and save hours no longer teaching your clients how to use WordPress and answering those same stupid questions over and over again, like how do I upload an image to my website, or how do I add a post to my blog, or how do I add a hyperlink to my page. We'll just handle all of that for you by putting, as I said, over 85 video tutorials in the back end of your client's WordPress dashboard. All right, I hope that makes sense. Get over to videousermanuals.com to take it for a spin. Right now, let's get back to the show. G'day, Troy Dean here from WP Elevation, and I'm very pleased to have with me all the way from Massachusetts, Adam Mills from Bottomless Design. Hey, Adam, how you doing?
Hey, Troy. Doing excellent. Thanks for having me here today.
Thanks for being on
the show. How you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. Not many people ask that, actually. You'd be surprised. So thank you for joining us on the WP Elevation podcast. Very quick announcement for a competition this week. You know, we always give away prizes on the podcast as a way of trying to get the conversation going and keep you guys connected. So Adam has very kindly offered to give away a copy of his Birch WordPress theme, which is valued at $49. So stick around for details on how you can enter the draw to win a copy of that a little bit later on in the interview. Okay, Adam, before we start geeking off about all things WordPress, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a rock star.
Ah, cool.
Get
Awesome.
on stage and yeah.
Did you pursue that dream at all?
Well, I played drums, all growing up and through school. But it was always kind of a part of my life. But
Sweet.
Now I'm just content doing websites.
Do you still play at all?
I don't play that much these days. No, I haven't really played for quite some time.
Right. Nice. That was actually my dream when I was a kid as well, too, to be a rock star. Yeah. You might notice the guitar in the background there.
Yeah.
And, web designers are kind of the new rock stars anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty much.
So when did you discover the internet, and when did you discover the web and realise that this was going to be something that you were going to spend a lot of time and put a lot of energy into?
Well, I became aware of the internet, in school and was always, interested in it. But I was always interested in creating. And, when I got out of college, I actually went into carpentry and woodworking. And so I did that for a while and felt like I needed a bit of a change, and always had that interest in the web. So I went back to school for web design.
So woodwork, So rockstar, woodwork, web design. It sounds like there's like a creative theme. You like creating things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always had that creative bug in me.
Cool. And did you, when you went back to learn web design, were they teaching WordPress?
No. That was probably, I would say, 2006.
Okay.
I went back to school, and so it was just it was mostly HTML stuff and a lot of self direction.
Uh-huh. And so was it web design or web development that they were teaching?
It was more skewed towards web design.
Right. And so what kind of, I'm curious what kind of tool, because there's a bunch of web design courses in Australia, and the last time I looked, it's like this unfortunate thing where the curriculum gets approved for like 3 years and they can't change the curriculum for 3 years. So by the time, like, I was actually teaching digital business at one point in like 2000 and I want to say 12, and there was no mention of social media in the curriculum at all, because the curriculum had been approved in like 2009. So I'm curious what kind of tools they were teaching you to use back in 2006.
It was primarily the Creative Suite. We started out, it was a bit of a graphic and web design course. So, we learned Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign, and then moved into Dreamweaver and did a little bit with coding, but they didn't cover code itself very heavily. They kind of gave us the basics and said, if you want to learn more, this is where you can go and do it. And then that's exactly what I did. I just kind of delved right in I mean, my first project in the class, I just jumped at it and said, I'm going to do a website. And what was really great about that program, though, was that they would hook you up with legitimate needs for websites. So you weren't just doing like your brother's hockey team or whatever. It's like, no, you actually would do like an actual business that needed a website.
Wow. Cool. And do you remember the first time you saw the WordPress dashboard?
Yes, that would be, I would say 2010. It was version 2.9 was out. I had been doing mostly HTML sites at that point, and I had a client that wanted a blog, and I said, yeah, we could do that. And I just did some research, and WordPress was coming out at the top, and I got into it, and I haven't looked back. It's just it totally changed my entire approach to my business.
So client says they need a blog, and of course you said yes, we can do that, and then do what we all do, which is go research how to do that, right?
Yeah.
God love the internet, eh?
Yeah.
So how do you describe what you do today when people meet you for the first time? Do you have like an elevator pitch?
Yeah, well, I do web design with a focus on WordPress and theme development, and it's inspired from the natural world. I would say that I tend to live a natural lifestyle, so I like to extend that into my business and also work with clients that are, doing a similar thing.
This is really interesting, and I've kind of picked this up just by looking through your website, doing some research for this interview, and I want to talk about this a little bit later on, kind of explore why this is important to you, and in fact how you bring this into your work, and just to plant this seed so you can think about it. In fact, why this has become important in terms of the clients that you work with, because I'm really curious about it. But before we get there, what do you actually spend most of your time doing day to day? Are you on the tools? Are you designing? Are you coding? Are you doing account management or biz dev? What do you actually do most of the day?
I would say that my work days are primarily split between running theme support, developing the next theme, and working on client projects.
Uh-huh. So roughly what percentage of your business would be themes versus client services?
I'm at sort of a crossroads right now. It's been shifting steadily more and more into the theme work. I still work with clients, and I still have a couple of active jobs, but the theme work has really taken off in the last year.
Cool.
And so it's just and like with any product, there's support, and so I have the support that I have to maintain. But what's great about the support, naturally, like I get to help people, But what I like is when new features and updates come out of that, where it's like, oh, okay, well, if we tweak it in this way, we can actually make some improvements and come out with a better product.
So sort of baking more usability and a better user experience into the themes in order to lighten the support load moving forward.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Always looking for ways I can kind of tweak that where, like, for example, I used to get a lot of questions for, I don't know how to install the theme. Well, there's documentation on it, but for some reason people were missing that key component. It's like, okay, well, how are they missing that? What can we do? What can we change so that we're getting less calls on this? And, by making a frequently asked questions page, for example, and making some more prominent buttons leading people to the support, and all of a sudden, like, the number of calls for the installations plummeted.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, just listening and getting that feedback is really helpful.
Do you have like a big banner at the top of your support page that says "Read the freaking manual"?
Yeah, well, with every theme, there's buttons that lead right to the documentation, and even right on the theme options page, where they can customize. It says right there, it's like, if you have questions, like, here's the link to the documentation, and just really try to just like put it right in front of them and make it really easy.
How I'm curious, how big is your team? Is it just you, or do you have people that just you? Wow.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I've got here is, what do you do when you're not working? It sounds like you must be working a lot.
I do work a lot, but yes, I would say, like, in my spare time, I enjoy spending time with my wife, and we like to explore nature, and we'll travel, and also I'm an avid comic book reader.
Ah, cool. Does the comic book stuff inform your design at all? Do you get inspiration from the comics?
It's interesting. Sometimes yes, because with comics, it's a sequential art form. So there's a lot of them. There's boxes and stuff. There's containers, and it's just like if you think about a website with a wireframe.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the same. You can kind of break it down to some essential, like, bare bone structures.
I'm reminded of, I've got to bring this up. I'm reminded of one of our WP Elevation members, Grady, who's got a website called, his brand is tummel.me. I'll put a link to this in the show notes because his whole website looks like a comic book. He loves comics, and he takes a lot of inspiration from comic books, and his whole brand and whole website, everything, it looks like a comic book. It's just so unique. I love it. So I'll send you a link after the show. You can check it out.
Cool.
What's the one thing that keeps you awake at night about the business?
I would say my to-do list. Isn't that for everyone?
Well, isn't that? I thought having a to-do list is supposed to let you sleep easy, because at least you've written everything down.
Yeah, well, you know what it is. Like you mentioned, I work for myself, and I work out of my house. So I have to be really conscious about having a quitting time and then honoring it. Because if I work too late into the day, then I can find myself lying awake at night thinking about everything that needs to get done the next day. But what I've found is that as long as I'm realistic about the amount of work I can get done in a day, then I'm perfectly able to honor that quitting time and just get a good night's sleep.
I've spoken to many people who work from home. I used to work from home. I can't do it anymore. I have to have an office away from the house. I spoke to Shane Perlman from Modern Tribe about this kind of recently, probably 6 months ago. And, he was saying that he's got an office set up at home, and so he's got a small child and, his wife and dog at home. And so he has a rule that when he's in the office working, no one's allowed to interrupt him. But the other side of that rule is that when he's in the kitchen and they're cooking dinner together, he's not allowed to check emails on the phone. Do you have a similar kind of structure set up?
I try, and it can be a challenge at times to have that line, because it can be very easy to just be like, oh, well, sure, I'll just take one more email, or I'm just going to do one more objective on this to-do list. And it can be easy to fall into that trap, but having those clear boundaries and knowing where it's like, all right, if this is dedicated work time, then it's dedicated work time. And if something else needs to happen, then we need to go and, focus on that and not work, and try to really have those boundaries and stick to them.
Do you ever find it hard to get motivated working from home? Do you ever find yourself just watching daytime television in your pajamas at 11 o'clock?
No. Well, I don't have cable, so that's really helpful for that. No, it's funny, because that's a question that you get a lot, like working from home. It's like, I feel like, you'd constantly be, procrastinating or running errands or doing the laundry or whatever. And it's like, no, I can be really focused, when I need to. So, it's because the fact of the matter is, it's like, well, if I'm doing those other things, then I'm not working, and if I'm not working, then I'm not getting paid. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple equation, isn't it?
Yeah. Money is an amazing motivator.
It is. Yeah, it sure is. I had a colleague. I bought a place about 2 years ago now, and when I was kind of teetering on the edge and thinking about buying a place, this colleague said to me once, he said, a mortgage makes a man more productive. And I must agree with him. What were you doing before you were freelancing? Were you working somewhere else? Like, were you working a job before you started working from home?
I had an interesting path where when I got out of school, I actually just started working right away, just for myself. I just, was putting the call out while I was still in school, and I was, just trying to find jobs. And I found a couple of big jobs right away, which was really helpful. And then, back then it was like, I'd update my Monster profile and, so like headhunters would find me and stuff. I found, I had a lot of word of mouth, and then what happened was we moved, and so same thing. I went and I updated my Monster profile, and I got contacted by someone else, and I went in for a job interview at this place. I wasn't even really planning on I didn't really think anything of it, and turns out I ended up taking the job, and I worked there for over 5 years. And
Wow.
So it wasn't a web agency per se, but I was running the website and doing some other jobs as well. So I was doing that, and then I worked for myself nights and weekends. And so I did that for a while, and there's pros and cons to it. I didn't have a lot of free time because I was working nights and weekends, but what it gave me was the freedom where I was really in control of my business, because I was really selective about the type of clients that I would work with, because I had a full-time job. So if I didn't want to work with a client, I wasn't going to work with the client. And it really gave me the freedom to really build up a clientele that I was really, proud to work with. And so it was going to be a really good fit for everyone. And that's I was really blessed, because that's a freedom that not everyone has, and it gave me the ability to be able to have that confidence about my pricing, and to feel like I wasn't competing with myself.
I love this story because I talk to web consultants all the time about finding their niche and about working out which clients are good for them and which clients are a good fit, and being able to say no to clients who are a bad fit. Because what a lot of people don't understand is clients who are a bad fit for the business will actually prevent the business moving forward, because you spend so much time working on this project, no one's ever going to be happy with it. It's not going to be profitable because you're never going to be able to meet their expectations. And in all of that time, you could have been doing things like speaking at a local business breakfast, or positioning yourself by blogging, or starting a podcast, or making video tutorials that would position you in a better light to your ideal client. And one of the things that no one talks about is that while you're doing that, you have to pay the rent somehow, right? And you have to eat food. So I was fortunate that I was playing gigs and doing voiceovers around town, so I was kind of picking up work that way. But I love this story that you felt like, and it's kind of funny because a lot of people would think having a full-time job and building up their business on the side would be quite restricting, but you actually know that gave you a lot of freedom to control your business and build the business that you wanted, and not just be a general workshop open to anyone.
Right, exactly. And now I've left the full-time job, and I've been on my own again, freelancing for about a year and a half or so now. And, it was an incredible decision to leave the business and work for myself. Yeah, it's been a really good choice to do that.
Are you having fun working from home, working for yourself, doing your own thing?
Well, yeah, because, I get to see my best friend, my wife, every day.
Yeah.
And, we get to laugh throughout the day and get to spend a lot of time together. And, we've traveled a lot, and I don't have to ask anyone for days off or permission or whatever. Like, I'm in control of my own schedule.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of perks for working for yourself.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So I think you've answered this question. What do you do when you're not working? You hanging out with your wife, and did I ask that question already?
Yeah.
I did. Okay.
Yeah, we covered that.
Right, we did. All right. If you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing in the business right now, what would it be?
I would say creating the proper foundation for hiring theme support staff. And I'm in a great place where I'm growing the business and will, towards that idea of hiring my first employee, and it's super exciting, but it's a responsibility that I take seriously too, and I want to make certain that it's going to be for that that highest good and mutually beneficial for the potential employee and the business and myself.
Awesome. And so I'm curious, how do you, because hiring people is a pain in the ass, I'm telling you. Like finding good, when you find good people, it's so rewarding. But finding good people is a pain in the ass, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how are you going about educating yourself about the recruitment process? Like, right, I really need to hire someone to help me with theme support. What's the first thing you do? Like, do you go and learn how to recruit or how to interview or how to scout? What's that process look like?
I would say that's all part of that, laying that proper foundation. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, it starts with that, like, self-education. So what does that mean? Are you talking to other, like, HR professionals, or I haven't fully embraced that search yet. So, in some regards, I'm not going to have all the answers to that, but that's part of the excitement and part of the journey.
Yeah, I guess one of the good things about the WordPress community is that it's quite well connected and quite a tight knit group. So, there's probably, I imagine you can jump in a Slack group and reach out and ask people for some advice.
Sure.
And you should reach out to Shane Pellman at Modern Tribe. He's done a pretty good job of hiring a bunch of people all over the world.
Yeah, he's done a great job.
Shane, if you're listening, Adam needs some help.
Yeah. Very, very open to receiving my first employee via this interview.
There you go. We do what we can here at WP Elevation. Hey, tell me about the name of your business, Bottomless Design. Why is it Bottomless Design? Is that a coffee reference or?
No, well, all right. So it's twofold. All right. The idea is that, it's like that bottomless well of inspiration.
Uh-huh.
And, so it's so that's what we can, put on for the face of it. But the reality is this gig started as a freelancing position. And what I've heard time and time again from a lot of different freelancers is one of the benefits of working from home is that you don't have to wear pants.
Excellent. I love it. Because I'm not wearing any pants right now either.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
That's fantastic. Have you read Year Without Pants by Scott Birkin?
No, actually, I haven't read that one.
There it is. So Scott Birkin spent a year working at Automatic, and the condition, he took the job. Matt Mullenweg offered him the job. He took the job, and he said, the condition is that I get to write a book. I'm going to document my year at Automatic. And so he wrote this book called The Year Without Pants, which is the same reference. It's like, everyone works virtually. You only ever see your colleagues from like the chest up. So the idea is that everyone's just, no one's wearing any pants.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating, entertaining read. I strongly recommend that anyone listening get a copy. Okay. A couple of other things I want to talk about. So the client services versus product thing, right? Was that something that you wanted to do right from day one, or did there come a point where you went, hang on a second, there's an opportunity here to make some product, and you gradually tried to make that transition, or was it always something that you were going to do?
No, what happened was I went to WordCamp Miami, and there was a presentation there, and my biggest takeaway from the entire event was this one line where one of the presenters said something to the effect of, you can go out and you can build a website and you do that and you hand it over to the client and then you get paid, and then you go out and you got to find another client and then you got to go build them a different website and then you'll get paid, and repeat. Or you can create one thing one time and sell it infinite number of times, sell it in your sleep, sell it over and over again, and you only did the work once. And I heard that and I said, that man is a genius. I like the way he thinks, and I was like, all right, so what can I do? I was like, in WordPress, it's like you make themes, you make plugins, and coming from that design background, the idea of theme development just spoke to me a little more naturally, and so yeah, I just put a plan together, and now this, I was still working for the full-time job, so it took a little longer because now I had a full-time job, I was working on my business with clients, and I was trying to develop a theme, so it took a little bit of time trying to just find that time, and then I basically made a promise to myself where I said, I'm going to finish this theme, and then I'm going to put in my notice, and that's pretty much exactly what happened. Wow. And so I finished the theme, I launched it, and I put in my notice, and then I started working for myself and creating a lot more themes since then.
Wow. So the obvious question is, like, there are so many theme companies, right? And you just like themes, we're all grown-ups here, right? Themes for me are like porn for web designers, right? Like, I go to Theme Forest, I could literally spend days just gawking at the beauty of these themes. The point I'm trying to make is that it's such a saturated marketplace.
Absolutely.
What gave you the belief or the confidence that your themes were going to be any different, or that you were even going to be able to sell? The reason I ask this question is because we've had this conversation internally so many times. We've got a pretty good audience here, a really good database of subscribers who, buy our stuff already. And we just kind of look at the theme market and go, man, it's so saturated, there's no way we could penetrate and get any traction in that market. So what was it, just stubbornness or naivety that you went, well, I'll sell some themes, everyone else is doing it?
Well, I think what it is really is, prior to making my own themes, what I would do with a typical client is, I could I had built a couple of themes from scratch for specific clients, but the typical job was, you get a premium theme, maybe, you child theme it, customize it, you make it theirs, and, and then you add your content and everything else. And, so what I discovered from working with clients and for my own needs was, there's a lot of themes out there, like you mentioned, but I was constantly changing them. I never took a theme out of the box and just added the content and hit publish. I always was making changes to it. And so I decided to make a list. I said, well, like, what am I looking for in a theme? I had a couple of go-to companies that I liked where, I would tend to, we did more business with certain companies versus others, but it really came down to like just making a list, and it's like, well, what do I look for in a theme? What do I need? What does a user need? And then start like shifting that train of thought where it's like, you're not making a theme for one user. You're making this, like, you want a lot of people to buy it. So now you're making for, that commercial mindset. And like, what is a general audience looking for that's not being serviced right now? And so, and maybe we're jumping ahead a little with some of your questions, but, for myself, I've found that, like, with my client list, I've worked primarily with women, and it's just sort of worked out that way. I didn't seek it out, but I found that, like, with the design tendencies that I have, and with the way that I run my business, that I get a lot more inquiries from women, and so I have that experience to draw from for when I'm working on a theme, and I've noticed that primarily the people that are buying my themes are also women. And this is based, just solely off of the amount of support that I get. And so, I would say that I'm just trying to think my way through this, and well, how are they using this? What are they trying to do with their websites? And, are they using it for their business? Are they, quote unquote mommy bloggers? Or is it more like a DIY situation? Is it for a hobby? And just thinking, it's like, well, for any of these scenarios, like, what do you need in a website? And that's really like, every website comes down to those essential questions for me of like, well, what are your goals and who is your audience? And if you can define those two questions, then your design starts to really take shape around that. And so, to get back to your question there, yeah, I was thinking about those two essential questions, and I put that list together, and I felt like, you know what, I have something here that I'm going to be able to offer and be able to stand out.
It's funny because I never thought about that until you mentioned it. Looking through your themes now, you've got a theme called Crescent, Birch, Nectar, Mist, and Clay. They are all from the natural world, but looking through the designs now too, there is definitely a feminine bent angle. Even the content that you've used to present these themes, like the dummy content that you've used, so to speak, the fonts that you've chosen, and hearing you say that your target audience or the people that are buying your themes and your clients are predominantly female, I can definitely see that you've slanted your theme business towards that market.
Yeah, it's just it's a place that I had experience with. Like I said, working with predominantly female clientele, and so it was a place that I felt like I could draw inspiration from, and there was a need there to be serviced.
Tell me about the natural world thing. So you said that you live a natural life and that you try and bring that into your work. Why is that important to you? And second of all, what kind of clients would you say no to because they just don't fit with your philosophy?
Well, so yes, I've always tended to live a bit of a natural lifestyle. I try to eat natural food, use natural cleaner, natural health, et cetera, et cetera. So, working for myself, well, I want my business to be an extension of that. I'm not solely in this just to make money. I'm making a living, so I want to be happy while I work. And so I want to work on projects that are going to be fulfilling to me, but that are also going to be, serving like a greater good. So, what I've said in the past is that, I do all natural graphic and web design. And it really, it just speaks to that idea that it's like, well, if I'm living a natural lifestyle and I'm working on websites that have some sort of a natural bent to them, so whatever that means. So, maybe it's a nutritionist or a health coach or acupressure. There's any number of things that, any number of different ways you could translate what that means, but, just some sort of a natural bent. But for example, like something that I would say turn away from or turn down, I had someone that was adamant that he wanted me to do his website for some sort of, I don't even remember it specifically, I just know it was about guns. Well, guns, I'm a lover, not a fighter. So, it's just, they don't fit in with my natural lifestyle, okay? So, I was going to pass on it, and I said, no, thank you. And he was just adamant that he wanted me to do it, and it's like, no, I'm sorry, but that's something I'm just going to have to pass on. And, and it's never a personal thing. It's just, that's something that to me, it's like, it's not part of my brand. And like you mentioned earlier, it's like, that's something where like, I'd be making a concession to work with him. Because it's something that, that it's going to go against some of my core values. And that's not going to create a good work environment for anyone. I'm going to be more interested in creating a good working relationships, building trust and respect, and creating a product that we're both going to be happy with.
I agree absolutely. I mean, I basically don't work with anyone in the gambling industry, not because I have any, deep-seated traumatic secret about gambling. I just kind of don't like it. I see how it affects things, especially here in Victoria, in Melbourne, Australia, by head of population, the worst gamblers in the world. There are more problem gamblers when I say problem gamblers, I mean people who have a gambling problem that ruins their life. We have more problem gamblers in Melbourne than anywhere else in the world, partially because we just love our sport. I don't know what that's about. But so I totally hear that. I guess a lot of people would be listening going, well, man, how do you say no to money? Like, the guy's offering you, whatever he's offering you to build the website. How do you say no? Like, you must be crazy. But I don't know. What's your take on that? Like, how do you turn revenue down?
I don't know. I've never had a problem with it. I just, part of it might be because, like I said, like when I was starting out, I was working a full-time job and working on the side. And so I just have that mentality in me where it's just like, I don't need this. Like, I'm going to be okay if something doesn't happen. And, the life of a freelancer is that, ebb and flow, where it's like you've got really busy periods and you've got really slow periods. And, in some instances, I'll get approached by somebody that I just know is a bad fit, and it'll be like, during my super busy season. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, because if I were even to say yes, I'm going to be talking about booking like 4 months out. And it's like, they don't want to wait because they want it published yesterday. So, in those instances, it's fine. But like, how do you say no when things are quieting down? It's like, I don't know. I've never worried about it because I'm just more interested at that point. Like, my to-do list, like, you have no idea how long it is. Like, the things that I want to do to improve my business, it's like, if I get like a quiet time where like I don't have a ton of clients, it's like, this is a gift. Like, the ability to be able to like sit down and make those tweaks. It's like, you've probably heard that story, like the cobbler fixes everyone's shoes, but he never fixes his own. And, it's like, I mean, I've been guilty of that where I'll hand someone my business card and be like, oh yeah, but if you want like a list of updated sites or my most recent sites, I'll send you an email, because they don't make it on the portfolio just because I don't have time. Or, I don't know. I would say just have that confidence to say no. It's so freeing. It's so powerful to be able to say no to somebody. And it gives you so many more opportunities when you say no.
I agree. Absolutely agree wholeheartedly. Do you think having some kind of recurring revenue from the theme sales do you think that helps put you in a position where you can say no and not panic because there is some money coming in from theme sales?
Oh, definitely. Like with the theme sales now, I mean, that was the idea. When I said that, my plan was I was going to publish that first theme and then I was going to give my notice. And so my thinking was that my job at the time, like that had always been my fallback. Well, I wanted my themes to replace that and for the theme sales to be the fallback. And, and I can say that, that's definitely taken place. And so, it gives you that freedom where, it's like you can make choices and you can have some say in how you want your day-to-day to be and how you want your business to be run.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about theme support. What are you using at the moment to handle theme support? Is it just email, or do you use Help Scout, or do you have some other kind of system in place?
I unfortunately am just using email at the moment, and I'm starting to research options to branch out from that because obviously there are a lot of limitations with using email. The other thing that exists is that because I sell my themes on a marketplace, the marketplace also has its own forum system. And so it's interesting because they actually have two different websites. So there's two different forums, and then they also have personal messaging within the ecosystem of the website. So, there's like about 5 different ways that people will get in touch with me.
Right.
But part of that, like I said, it's like when you sell through a marketplace is that you are subscribing to their infrastructure at that point.
Is that Theme Forest that you sell through?
I sell through Mojo Themes.
Aha, gotcha.
Yeah, so they have Mojo Themes, and then they also have Mojo Marketplace. And Mojo Marketplace is the one that's tied to a lot of the hosting companies.
Hosting, yeah.
Like Bluehost and HostGator. So what happens is like if you buy a domain, and hosting from Bluehost, for example, and then you do their one-click WordPress install. Well, when they install WordPress for you with the one-click install, it comes with the Mojo Marketplace plugin installed. And so what that does is it's just feeding like a ton of people back to that marketplace website. And so that's been a huge benefit for attracting sales for the themes. But what I wasn't aware of was also attracting new clients have come just from having
Wow.
the themes up there.
Wow, that's really interesting. So why did you choose to go with Mojo Marketplace and not Theme Forest? Or was it just that you haven't got to Theme Forest yet?
Well, Theme Forest, people have mixed opinions on Theme Forest. Especially within the WordPress community, I know that it can get a bad rap. There are quality themes on there, absolutely. But the unfortunate thing is that you have to kind of dig through them a little bit. Also, it's a bit oversaturated. Like you mentioned earlier, like that idea of just themes in general. Like Theme Forest can be a bit oversaturated, and it's a kind of thing where I just wanted to kind of stand out a little bit better and not have the controversy, and rather than being like a little fish in a big pool with Theme Forest, I felt like I'd be able to make a better mark on Mojo, and I can say that that is absolutely the case. On the marketplace, on Mojo Marketplace, I've had a minimum of one theme on their popular page for nearly a year now straight.
Nice.
And I don't think that would have happened if I had gone to Theme Forest. And then what happens with any marketplace, they have the option for you get better revenue if you go with the exclusive option. So once I committed to exclusive, then I'm getting better revenue, and so then you're kind of enticed to stay within that one framework.
And and obviously like similar to Theme Forest. So do you set the pricing or do Mojo set the pricing?
They set the pricing.
Yeah, and they just clip the ticket on the way through.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. I'm actually just looking at the popular page now, and it looks like you've got 3 themes on there. You've got Birch, Nectar, and Crescent.
Yes.
Nice work, man.
Yeah, thank you.
What a beautiful time we live in, hey, where the world is so connected like this that you can quit your job, work from home, hang out with your wife, develop some themes, put them up on a marketplace where someone else is doing the work to build that audience, and you can make a good living and have a good lifestyle, huh?
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's a beautiful thing.
I'm really grateful.
I love it. I want to talk about WordCamps and WordPress meetups. So we were chatting off camera that I was trying to work. See, a lot of the people that come on this podcast, for those that don't know, a lot of people that come on this podcast are people that refer. So at the end of this interview, I'm going to say to Adam, hey, who do you want me to interview next and why? And hopefully Adam's going to tell me someone I haven't interviewed, and then we'll go and get them, and that's kind of how it works. But when we first started this podcast 18 months ago, we didn't have anyone, so I went through the internet and I found a list of what I thought were people who were influential in the WordPress space. And that was kind of based on people who were organising meetups or WordCamps, or people who were actively blogging, or people who were, had a good following on Twitter. And I think I came across you, Adam, because at that stage you were co-organiser of one of the meetups. Is that right? Yeah,
I was a co-organizer of the Sarasota, Florida meetup. I've since moved, so I had to give up the duties. But yes, I was doing that, and in fact, that meetup is doing very well actually at the moment, I believe. So it's been left in good hands.
Do you think that having that community was also a factor in you feeling like you could quit your job, work from home, because you weren't going to be isolated, because the WordPress community is so well connected that you can reach out to anyone and bounce ideas off each other, and that you don't get cabin fever because you are connected to people in the community?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of great resources for finding that community, and so like you mentioned, I mean, meetups definitely are great for that, and it doesn't need to be confined to just that like monthly meetup. It's like once those connections start to be made, people will rely on them in different ways. Like I know, like with the Sarasota meetup we had and still do, there's this Facebook page for it. And so, there's a lot of activity that takes place on the Facebook page in between the meetups where people will say, hey, I'm having this trouble with my website, and, the different meetup members will pitch in and offer their suggestions. But beyond that, I know there's the advanced WordPress meetup on Facebook, or not the meetup, but the advanced WordPress community on Facebook. And, that one, has seen such tremendous growth in the last couple of years. And, and then there's, with GitHub and WP Tavern, there's so many different places online for people to be reaching out and making those connections. And Twitter, it's unbelievable. The amount of solutions that come out of Twitter.
I know. Twitter's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's funny, I was talking recently to some colleagues, and we're saying, could you live, if a website was taken away, what would you, and we're talking about, could you live without Facebook? And we're going, yeah, you could live without Facebook. I prefer not to live without Facebook because it's a really good lead generator for us, because we use Facebook advertising a lot to promote WP Elevation. But I could not live without Twitter. If Twitter didn't exist, I don't know what we did before Twitter. It's nuts.
It seems especially the WordPress community in particular, it just eats Twitter up.
Yeah.
Just lives and breathes on it.
Hey, I'm curious, just one technical question before we get into the elevation round. Do you use a particular theme framework for building your themes? Do you use the Redux theme, or do you have your own framework that you use?
I use Underscores, which is,
cool.
That's produced by Automatic. So, I've loved it. I've done all my themes on that.
Awesome. You're a purist. And is all your customizations done in the theme customizer?
At this moment, no. So I've been using the theme options plugin that Devin Price developed, and so I have that baked into the theme. So it's not a plugin; it's just baked right into the theme, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. However, for my next theme, I'm going to move into the customizer, only because that's just the way that the community is going. There's a lot of there's just been that shift in the last year or so where a lot of people are getting into the customizer. And so what's happening is that whole ecosystem is where the user is expecting to go to the customizer to make their changes. And so I just want my themes to just have that cohesiveness where it's as intuitive and easy as possible for the end user, really.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, we should do the elevation round. For those that don't know, WP Elevation is the world's first and biggest WordPress business accelerator for WordPress consultants. So if you're a WordPress consultant and you want to learn how to grow your business and get better clients, then come on over and join WP Elevation at wpelevation.com. So I'm now going to ask Adam a series of quick questions about being a freelancer and a consultant, and hopefully he's going to give us some quick answers off the top of his head. What's the number one thing any freelancer or consultant needs to know?
Boundaries. I would say really good client boundaries, pricing boundaries, work versus life boundaries. Just knowing what those boundaries are, being consistent with them, and sticking to them.
Awesome. One thing I'm really bad at, particularly the work-life stuff. The client stuff, not so bad, but the work-life, terrible. What's the best thing you've ever done to find new customers?
Well, I touched on this earlier, but I would say launching my first theme on Mojo Themes. Like I said, I was able to leverage my services against their ability to attract an audience. And, I thought I was just putting a new product out there, but I didn't expect the number of new clients and new projects to come out of it.
Awesome. How do you stop competing on price?
Well, I never started. And this, it kind of comes back to some of the stuff we were talking about earlier. But I would say that, knowing your value and your boundaries are just so crucial to not competing on price. And I would say that and educating your clients, because, I know the value of the service that I offer. And I'm confident that it's a fair price, and but also one that I'm able to make a living off of. And it's easy to find someone who will work for cheaper, but in my experience, that's something that usually translates to cutting corners, inexperience, or someone who's just looking to make a buck and not in it for the the well-being of the client. So I'm just more interested in having better client relations, more trust, and ultimately making a better product.
Nice. Any tips on writing better proposals?
I would just say really good communication. Just being really concise with your communication. Make it easy for them to say yes by detailing the value that is in it for them. And don't leave, just be clear on everything. Don't leave anything, open to interpretation or guesses.
That's a great distinction. And make it really easy for them to say yes. I learnt that about all aspects of business, really. I mean, even when we reach out to interviewees for the podcast, we try and make it really easy for them just to say, yes, we get this. We understand it's going to be, a good, fun experience. And we don't, we try and answer all their questions. So they just go, and they're nodding and going, yep, awesome. Do you have a favorite tool or system for CRM besides your email inbox?
Yeah, I would say I use a combination of both Asana and the Google suite of tools.
Cool. Yeah, we love Asana. What's the best way to keep a project on track? I think you may have already answered that.
Yeah, great communication.
Yeah.
Great communication. Yeah. Being upfront about client expectations and client deliverables, being responsive to to any sort of emails, text, calls, etc. And then just having like twice weekly, like pre-scheduled meetings, one at the beginning of the week, go over like what you're going to accomplish that week, and touch base with the client deliverables, and then at the end of the week touch base and say, all right, what did we actually accomplish? What needs to happen for next week?
Nice. Any ideas for getting referrals from existing customers?
I would just say make certain that the client is thoroughly satisfied with the experience of working together. That and having a referral policy, with an incentive that you're clear and upfront about.
I noticed that actually when I was doing research for this, you have a referral policy that offers if I refer someone to you and they sign up, then you'll offer me 20% off the next project that you and I work on together. Yeah,
definitely.
Cool. I like it. And final question in the elevation round, what's the number one thing you can do to differentiate yourself?
I think this is a great question. One of the things that I tell all my clients is, to let their personality shine through. And I view this as an extension of their brand. And I think it's an essential component for any business. I would say, for example, there's lots of web designers out there, right? But all things being considered equal, skill level, pricing, etc., like what's going to set me apart from another one? And I would say that it's personality. And, that on some level, a client is feeling a connection with me where, that ultimately it leads to them making that initial inquiry. And, that's just going to create a better work environment, better client relations, more trust, more respect, and that better product in the end.
Great advice. Thank you for getting us through the elevation round. What's the future for Bottomless Design? Where do you see the business in 12 months' time if you manage to get through your to-do list?
I would say, I'm continuing to grow the business. I want to develop more themes and continue enjoying life.
Awesome. We should announce the competition now. As I did mention, Adam is giving away a copy of the Birch theme, which is his most popular theme on the Mojo Marketplace. It's valued at $49. So in order to enter the competition, leave a comment under this video and tell Adam the number one thing holding you back from growing your business. You can find this interview at wplelevation.com/Adam Mills. That's all one word, ADAMMILLS. ADAMMILLS. Leave a comment under the video. Tell us the number one thing that's holding you back from growing your business. And I'll get Adam to swing by in a couple of weeks and go through the comments and award that prize. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Hey, thank you so much for spending almost an hour here with us on the WP Elevation podcast. Yes. I really appreciate your time, and I know our audience are going to really love learning about your business and the experience that you've had. Where can people reach out and say thanks, man?
Bottomlessdesign.com.
Bottomlessdesign.com. Awesome. And finally, who would you like me to try and interview and why?
I would say I'd love for you to interview Adam Warner.
Oh, yes.
He is the lead handshaker at Foo Plugins,
Yes.
and he is a wealth of WordPress and business information. He is amazing at connecting people within the WordPress community, and he has also been personally influential in the growth of my business.
Awesome. I met Adam Warner at Pressnomics number 2. We had a very brief chat. So he has been on my radar for a while. So thank you for prompting me. Adam Warner from Foo Plugins. I'm coming to get you, courtesy of Adam Mills from Bottomless Design. So keep your eyes on your inbox. And when I do finally get him on the podcast, I'll make sure I send you a link, man.
Great. Sounds good. I look forward to it.
Cool. Thanks again for being on the podcast. I wish you all the best and keep in touch.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Well, I hope you enjoyed meeting Adam Mills as much as I did. Next week on the podcast, we have Jason Resnick. So stick around for that. That's going to be very exciting. Jason was actually featured on our podcast a few weeks ago, giving a testimonial for WP Migrate DB Pro. And I've been following Jason for a while, and we've been connecting with each other. So I thought it was about time we got him on for a full episode. That's coming up next week. Hey, if you're enjoying the podcast, subscribe at wpelevation.com/subscribe, or you can subscribe at iTunes. In fact, the truth is, we would prefer you to subscribe at iTunes because it really helps us come up in the search results and helps us reach a wider audience. Please also give us a rating and a review at iTunes. That also helps us come up in the search results. You know why? Well, it's kind of like this. See, Facebook have this algorithm based on engagement. Let me explain how it works. If you post something on Facebook and people like it, but they don't comment, share, click on any links, or what's the other one? Like it, share it, comment, or click on any links. They're the 4 actions that someone can take on Facebook. If they take that action, any of those actions on your post, then Facebook realizes that your post has got some engagement. If they just read your post and go, oh, that was interesting, and they tell their friends about it, but they don't do anything on the computer, then Facebook doesn't know about it. Well, guess what? iTunes is a bit the same. See, computers are a bit dumb. You need to tell them what's going on. You need to tell them that you're engaged. So if you do like our podcast, please go and tell iTunes that you like it by subscribing, giving us a rating, and writing us a review. There's no point just telling your friends unless you tell the computer. You've got to tell the computer, because remember, kids, computers are stupid. Okay, so I hope you are enjoying the podcast. Please go and do all those things at iTunes. It really does help us. Remember to leave a comment under this video and tell Adam the number one thing holding you back from growing your business, and you could win a copy of his Birch theme. I'll get him to swing by in a couple of weeks and award that prize. I hope you're enjoying the podcast as much as I am. Until next week, I'm Troy Dean. Go Elevate.